Hi everyone, it's Plastic EP here from Melbourne, Australia. And I've got the fantastic Mark Benson from the 1964 tribute, the Beatles band. And before we start, Mark, here's our new theme song. I know you're going to love it. Here it goes.
Let me hear it.
Bananas, we think you're groovy. Hey, bananas, we watch your movie. Yeah. Driving tune buggies everywhere. Just going crazy without a care.
How are you today, Mark? I wrote that song.
It sounds great. I can tell. You need to be yelling in the song a little bit more so people recognize you.
Don't worry, they recognise me now. I just interviewed Terence H. Winkless, who played Bingo in Hey Bananas. He hadn't heard of that song. He said, I nailed 1968 with that song. He was rapped.
Oh,
it's a tribute to the Banana
awesome.
Splits.
That's great. I remember those guys flipping all around and spinning and all that stuff. That was great.
I'm a first generation fan. Do you want me to write one about you? Hello, it's Mark Benson.
Hey, anybody wants to write songs about me, I'm in. All right.
Good. Now listen, you played John in the Beatles tribute band 1964, and you've been going, what, 36 years?
We're in our 36th year until this COVID thing happened, and everybody's shut down now. But yeah, we started this in 1984. And we never, ever, Plastic, we never thought this was going to be full time. We never intended it because there really was no tribute industry or anything going on at the time. So we thought we would just do this locally, like every couple months, maybe. Oldies parties, class reunions, that kind of stuff, baby boomer stuff. And it just, by the second year, it was full time.
But that's great. Isn't that a fantastic life? You obviously got in at the right time. Your timing was perfect because look how many bands are on now.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And, you know, one of the really inspiring things is that so many of the Beatles, lots of young guys now are doing this.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends. You got to understand, I just want to go through the bands with you, right? You probably heard of them.
Okay.
Fab Four. You know about the Fab Four. There's nothing to say about them. They're great, right? Then you got American English. American English, they're great. Studio 2. I love them.
Got him. Yep.
Help.
Known him for. Not sure about Help. I've seen some things. I don't know them personally.
Help's very good. They're in Slovenia.
Yeah, I just saw a video of them doing. What was it? It was "I'll Get You," and it was really good.
And also, I got my friends in Alberta, Calgary, right? Called All You Need Is Love. They're great. Nathan Lou. The guys are gas. The whole band's are gas. So, I mean, you got all these bands, but you know what I see? They're sharing the love. They're putting out the Beatles songs. Everyone's got their own territory. You can't be all over the world in one day. So it's really a great thing, all these bands.
There's no question. There's no question. And there's room for everybody. You know, I mean, and really, like you said, there's nothing wrong with spreading that kind of love all over the world.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm just sorry I didn't interview earlier. I could have had a couple of your songs on my birthday show. I got to tell you about my birthday show. Have you seen any of them?
I haven't seen your birthday show. Where do I find it?
Okay, don't worry. I'll send it to you after. But what happens is,
all right,
Plastic EP was humbled because everybody said happy birthday so much to me in the States and all over the world that they all sent in their messages. I mean, I interviewed Julia Bard, John Lennon's sister. She said happy birthday. I put her in the show. You know, I interviewed Angie McCartney the other day. You know, she's got her own podcast.
Yeah, that was coming up, yeah.
She's fantastic. And, I mean, you meet all these great people and you just wonder where you sit in the world. And I actually sit in a happy place. And anyway, I started the birthday show, and by the time I finished, I had 4 episodes. So, and I'm the only person, if you listen to Charles Rosenay and Mitch Wiseman, they say that I'm the only guy who starts his birthday in March and his actual birthday's in July. So I think we'll stop the birthday now, but we ended up doing 4 episodes, which is really great.
Well, you know, there's a lot of room for birthday eves, you know, like Christmas Eve, birthday Eve, and you can stretch that out for as long as you want.
No, I don't want to stretch it anymore. I think we've overdone it with the birthdays. I think next year we'll just take personal messages on Facebook. But you know what? The show's turned out really great. But let's get back now to yourself. How great has it been with the fans over 36 years? You got to tell me some stories.
Well, as I said, we thought this was going to be a baby boomer show. And soon we were very much educated to the fact that there isn't any age group that doesn't like this. So initially, when we play a lot of colleges, we were the perfect parents' weekend band, because the parents and the kids loved it. And that's where we sort of got a lot of our start with larger venues, because we hit huge in the college market, which surprised us because we thought they'd be interested in the music of their time. And we set records for numbers of shows, booked consecutive numbers of shows. And we played colleges across Canada and America for about 8 or 9 years. And that opened up the bigger venues like Carnegie Hall and the Red Rocks and all these places where, we've been lucky enough to play a lot of the places that the Beatles actually performed that are still, up and running. So, I mean, how cool is that?
It's cool. But the thing is, I'll give you an example. I was speaking to Beatlemania again, and they said they went and played this town, and the town loved them so much they didn't want them to go. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Love, you know what I mean? Like, it's a big event to people. This is how I put it. My scenario, I want to analyze this. You go there, you play live, right? By the time they come to the concert, they're looking up at the stage. You're ready to perform. Now, whether you're the Beatles or you're not the Beatles, it's not the illusion, but it's the happiness you bring. And they look up and they see you ready to go, and you look like the Beatles. You sound like the Beatles, and they're captured in that moment. And it takes them away from all their cares and worries, and they actually just enjoy that concert. And after the concert, they walk away feeling happy because you've enlightened them and basically entertained them.
Well, I got a story to tell you about why they leave so happy. And this, it's out of the mouths of babes. We had a show. We do, meet and greets lots of times after the show. And lots of times when there's children with their parents, the children are a little, they're a little timid. They're hiding behind their parents' legs as they're coming through the line. Well, this little girl, 6 years old, she was not shy. She was just, she was making googly faces and smiling at us before she even got to the table. So I asked her, I said, why are you so happy? And she looked right at me in the eye and she goes, I'm happy because of love. That's what she says to me. So I probably wouldn't have taken that so seriously if it had come from an adult, but from a 6-year-old little girl, first thing I thought was, I was supposed to be reminded of that. Somebody was making sure I was reminded of that. So I went back and I looked at all of the times that LOVE shows up in our dialogue or in our songs, whether it's love, lover, lovely, loving, whatever form. And if you come to one of our shows and sing all the songs and listen to all the dialogue, you sing it or hear it over 120 times. And that word has a vibration that has power. And I think whether you realize that it's happening or not, it's subliminal. But when you say it and sing it and have that much fun for that long of a concert, you leave happy. And in my opinion, that's one of the biggest reasons.
That's a great analogy there, Mark. And as I said, it's like on network, when I'm in on network, I just love everybody. It's like now, I know 1964. I can't wait until one day I do something and I say, Mark, can I have 2 video clips from 1964? I want to put them in this show. And, it's more than likely everyone just jumps on board and wants to help each other. That's what I've noticed with everyone. There's this camaraderie between bands, which is great because that's what it's all about.
Right. Well, we all inspire each other, believe me, because we all see things and it's like, wow, I never did that way. That's really cool, and you kind of pick up things from everybody and they pick up stuff from you. And it's a nice community, I have to say.
Have you met any of the Beatles yourself or any famous celebrities come to see your shows over the years?
Well, the Beatles call, but we're busy. It's hard to get, we take a number and we try to get back to them, but it's hard, No, but we have heard from their lawyers.
All right. Yeah. We won't go there, but just tell me this. What's a lot of people come to see you that you know or didn't know, or famous people over the years?
It's amazing how many friends that we've made in almost every genre of music You know the famous cellist Yo-Yo Ma?
No.
This guy is a world famous cellist, and he's on the plane with us going to New York City the very first year we played Carnegie Hall. And our bass player went up to him and introduced himself and explained to him what we were doing. And he got this big smile on his face, and he opened up his Discman and he's playing Sgt. Pepper. And he was playing the same night at Carnegie Hall as we were playing, but he was playing in the theater downstairs and we were playing in the theater upstairs. So we never got to see him and he didn't get to see us. Same night. Unbelievable. But I mean, country artists, rock artists, jazz artists, new age artists, folk music, duos, trios. It's just amazing how the Beatles have influenced. It's probably one of the only, every genre of music has done a tribute to the Beatles. Every single one, where they've taken the Beatles and molded it into their style of music, just because this music has been so influential over, since '64.
You know what amazes me the most, Mark? I'm just saying, I collect a lot of stuff because I'm actually a big Monkees fan, right? Because I grew up with the Monkees more than the Beatles, unfortunately. When they came to Melbourne in 1964, I was 6 years old. What am I going to know? Then I'm 8 years old. Bang, the Monkees are on TV. I understand the music, so I grew up with the Monkees. Doesn't mean I'm not influenced with the Beatles, or I don't love the Beatles as much. But what I'm saying is every person has their generation of bands. Like if you talk to my sister, she'll say, I grew up with ABBA. You talk to someone else and say, I grew up with Michael Jackson. Everybody grows up when they understand music. That's basically their band. And from that band, believe it or not, they end up going to the Beatles. Doesn't matter where you start off, you end up at the Beatles. Believe it or not. Doesn't matter what artists you go through.
It's a real interesting story to talk to people who weren't around when they first made it over here, and to find out which era of the Beatles did you hear first that made you want to listen to more Beatles. And everybody's got a favorite, like I started listening, I heard Abbey Road for the first time, and then I started to go back and hear some of their early songs. Or it's just the opposite. They heard Rubber Soul first and they just loved it. And today it's still their favorite record, blah, blah, blah. But even though they didn't grow up in that time period of the British invasion, the music and the phenomena, not just the music, but the whole John, Paul, George, and Ringo thing and their charisma, it seems to affect them the same way, even though they didn't grow up in that era.
I can explain to you the first Beatles song I think I really actually heard was my parents took me to this dance and they played the song From Me to You. And I heard that on the radio. And I'm a little child, and I'm thinking, even as a child, wow, what a song. Like, in other words, what impact has it got? It's a whole song from start to finish. It's not like one of these olden style of those days where they'd croon and they'd sing a song. That was like, wow, like even at a young age. Never heard anything like it in my life. Same experience happened with the song Simon Says in 1968 with the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. I interviewed Jekyll from the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. He's great.
I had a hilariously funny story that's almost identical to what you're talking about. We were on a plane going somewhere, and the guitarist for the Allman Brothers, Dickie Betts, was on the plane with us. And we started chatting with him and stuff. And he said, I can't even think about this without laughing. He said, I'll never forget the first time I heard a Beatles song. He says, I was walking down the street in my town and I was a teenager. And this woman pulls up to a stoplight in a convertible. And I saw her standing there playing on her radio. And the light turned green. So she started going. So I started running beside her car down the street. And then she slowed down to get to the next light was red. And so she started slowing down and I started to catch up with her. And then she started going and I started running again. He goes, I heard most of the song.
That's a story and a half.
This visual of him running because he liked the song so much. It's just hilarious.
Exactly. But as I said, the great thing about the Beatles is they had like 5 songs at number one, at basically one after the other in 1964. And the photos I've seen, because as I said, I'm a first generation fan. And I saw pictures of people running around in New York service stations wearing wigs, going crazy. The effect they had on the young generation Must have been crazy at that time. Everyone's wearing wigs in shops and this and that. It's like crazy.
Well, the other phenomenon around the Beatles is most groups, as you'll remember, were a central figure, the backing group, or maybe a duo with a backing group. The Beatles were four naturally charismatic guys, all of whom could hold the spotlight. And that was extremely unusual because, when they first came over, everybody's going, all the newspaper guys would go, well, who's the leader? Who's the boss? Who's the leader?
Yeah,
and they would say, well, we're all, we all sing and they're like, what? So it made them extremely versatile. And when you think of, think about this. You got a band with John Lennon and Paul McCartney as the singer-songwriter team. The drummer in that band has a #1 hit. What band has that? For the most part, outside of the main singer and stuff, the other guys in the band, you don't even know their names. And you got Ringo Starr with the #1 hit. And that was, you watch Hard Day's Night or Help. These guys are all naturally charismatic guys. Can you imagine the Stones being in Help or Hard Day's Night?
No, but see, you've got a point there because when they came over in '64, the most popular Beatle was Ringo. But I got to tell you where it was for me.
Absolutely.
Not for me, all right? I'm just sort of saying now, my life. 1964, Ringo Starr's the most famous drummer in the world. 1967, the Monkees are it, like red hot white lightning. Still, Ringo Starr is the most famous drummer in the world. But I'm a young guy and I'm watching Mickey Dolenz sing and play drums. Because there wasn't too many lead singers, that played drums and sang songs, apart from Ringo. And Mickey Dolenz, even though he was at the back, he was really up front. So we never had that. Like Dave Clark 5, similar thing. So what happens is I'm watching TV in '67. I go to my dad, I want to be a drummer like Mickey Dolenz. You got to organise lessons. So he organises these lessons with a Hungarian guy. And every time I went for a lesson, I'm on the drums ready to play. And he'd tell me what to do. But then he'd say, do you want some goulash? Do you want some goulash? And I'm like, I don't want goulash. I want to learn drums. No, do you want some goulash? So after 3 lessons, I had to abandon it because I couldn't eat goulash. I said, sorry.
It's a similar story to, apart from the goulash, it's a similar story that a lot of people have when it's like, I don't want to learn rudiments. I want to learn drumming. I want to play rock and roll. I want to be Mickey Dolenz. I want to be Ringo Starr, because these guys were not only in bands that had great records, they were in movies. They were on TV every week. And it was just like, they didn't go to college. They were on, television playing and having thousands and thousands of girls scream at them. That looked like a pretty good job to a lot of guys.
Back then it's a different bag. Back then in 66, 67, I can't describe what it's like. Even though we didn't have the internet, Mickey Dolenz tells a story that he realized that something was going on. We went down to shop at his local mall to buy stuff maybe for Christmas, and everybody's running for the door, and he thought there was a fire, but they're running at him.
Yeah. Well, and that whole thing about, when the Beatles, the whole Bigger Than Christ thing, and they had all those record burnings, that sold more records for the Beatles because people would buy the records to take them to these burnings. And it was just like, hey, whatever works, just go ahead and keep buying the records.
Yeah, that's amazing too. That's another story. But you know what? The thing is with the Beatles, when they jumped from being a mop top to going to Sgt. Pepper, that was the opening there for the Monkees because they abandoned their teeny bopper fans and the Monkees just stepped in that moment in time. It's never going to happen again. And that was the opening there. And they actually got the teeny bopper fans. That was just sheer brilliance, just the timing couldn't have been better.
Well, maybe the truth about this, but I was told that they were put together because of that. They were put together to be like a weekly Beatles type show.
The idea was that they were going to be America's Beatles from the start.
There you go.
And they were, because you got to understand, I don't compare the Beatles to the Monkees. This is what a lot of people don't understand. Because their sound is not the Beatles. The Beatles were formed naturally. The Monkees were organised by producers for a TV show, but they had to fill the demand in, and they had to go and play live. and they became a real band. That is a fact.
They did, and they were a good band, and they had great songs.
Exactly. But they had the best songwriters in the world.
Indeed.
You see where John and Paul were the greatest songwriters in the world. And it's like two different stories, but two different sounds. Even though they had Davy Jones singing like Daydream Believer on some of the songs lead vocal, it's Americanized. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not British.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that's one of the things they used to say about the Beatles. They don't sound English when they sing, only when they talk.
Well, they went to crash on the Beatle cartoons. They didn't like the voices. And the Beatle cartoons, when they came out in 65, had like 52% or 53% of the market, which was unheard of. And the Beatles heard the voices and said, you're not releasing this. And they didn't release it until the 90s, the Beatle cartoons, from 65. Is that unbelievable?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That is weird. I got you.
Because they Americanized their voices. Anyway, getting back to 64, you got to tell everybody where all your links are, where they can find 64, what you're hoping to do now if you've got things lined up. Just tell us now about 64.
Well, we're working on a video. We're pretty close to finishing up a video just for our fans to let them know that, everything's okay. We're still, everybody's healthy, and it's going to be fun. It's just going to be a promotional video. It's not for sale or anything like that. It's free. And you can go catch 1964thetribute.com is our website. And we have a Facebook page, 1964 The Tribute, and a Facebook fans, 1964 fans page as well. And I mean, it's every one of our videos is just all over YouTube. So if you want to type in 1964 The Tribute, you'll see page after page after page of videos.
All right, Mark, all I want to say is from Plastic EP and Mark Benson, take us out. I can't thank you enough. It was a great interview. I really loved it. And stay there.
Thanks so much for having me on Plastic. And I've got some things I want to send you. So stick around afterwards and I'll get your address and all that.
Thank you so much, Mark. As I said, don't miss 1964 because they've got a lot of great things coming up. And listen, to speak to Mark, who plays John, is really great. And also, I got Charles Rosenay on, right now. He's texted, said 1964, basically ever. He said, Mark is the best. I've also got Sean Weiss. He says, Terry and I say hi to Mark. There you go.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
That he's your friend. And I mean, how do you ask for more than that when you've got great people around you? I mean, look, it just feels in your life, doesn't it?
It's, like I said, we never intended it to be full time. And 36 years later, to have people that weren't even married yet bringing grandchildren to our shows is just, I mean, we're blessed. We're all extremely blessed. There's no question.
So for Mark Benson and the family and the fans' favorites, 1964, keep an eye out for what they're doing now in the future because they're going to be around for a long time. It looks like you're moving to retirement plan from here, Mark.
We're not able to retire. Nobody ever retires from this.
Hey, I don't know why the Rolling Stones don't call themselves the Rolling Bones.
Yeah, all right. And they're still a great band.
Yeah, of course. I had to put that gag in. All right, thanks again, Mark.
Thanks, Plastic. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.